Now, welcome to another Let's Talk Some Star Wars, where this time we're going to do something a little different. I've been doing some videos called Thor's Lightning Responses, where I kind of answer questions that have been left on videos. And since there's so many questions, what I decided to do is try to take a bunch of them, answer them all in one video. And I'm going to bring in my wife, Sailor Naboo. We have a channel together, as probably a lot of you know. And she's going to read the questions. She's kind of selected some of them, maybe to catch me off guard a little bit. Some of them I've selected, and maybe she'll try to kind of keep my rambling to a minimum, though maybe ask follow-up questions as well. Kind of a back and forth a little bit here. We'll see how it goes. If people like it, we'll keep doing it. If not, well, this might be the only one we ever do. All right, so let's get to your first question.
First question from Lee Walker. Hey Thor, why do you think the quality of Disney Star Wars is so inconsistent? I mean, for every Andor, Tales of the Jedi, Mando Season 2, we get a Kenobi, Boba Fett, or Last Jedi.
Balance. I joke, but it is funny because we do actually get good Star Wars. I recently just finished Jedi Survivor, finally, and it's fantastic. Andor, Mando Season 2, Bad Batch Season 2. There's a lot of good things. Mm-hmm. So why does it seem like for every good thing we got to get a bad thing? And I think there's nobody in Lucasfilm who is in control that really gets it. There's no Kevin Feige. I truly think the big problem is there's no internal person at Lucasfilm who has the power. We'll just say it. Kathleen Kennedy doesn't know Star Wars very well. She may be a good manager of a business manager type thing, but she doesn't get the franchise she's managing. Again, you look at Marvel, Kevin Feige, president of Marvel over there. He knows the source material. He knows what's going to work and what's not going to work ahead of time. And I also think there is a degree of, I don't think Disney micromanages Lucasfilm too much. I mean, we always kind of blame Disney for everything. And certainly Disney plays a part, like the whole Grogu thing. I know a lot of people are like, there's no way Disney interfered with that. But come on, we're talking about a multi-million-dollar character. His inclusion in a season is something that Disney is going to care about one way or the other. And I'm not saying we are guaranteed. We know for certain that Disney mandated Grogu be in Season 3 of The Mandalorian. But again, we're talking about millions upon millions of dollars. So there's every chance that they did. So it's not like they're in there managing the scripts and, on the ground level and doing that sort of thing. But certainly big decisions, Disney has a say in.
From Star Wars News and Memes. Hey Thor, if you were put in charge of a Star Wars anthology film and had full creative control, what era, characters, and plot would it be about?
Old Republic, new characters, Jedi versus Sith.
No Revan then?
No, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't want to try it, I guess.
Thanks a lot for implying I would.
No, it'd be really hard. The game was a choose your own adventure. The novel is already existing.
You're absolutely right. I've said that before about Revan. The problem is you have this kind of personal attack. You are Revan, so it's very hard to bring that character to screen when you have your own kind of personal experience with him that isn't going to be duplicated on screen. But beyond that, I wouldn't want to just mess with what's already there. I would want to try to bring, I don't want to say a new element to it, but a new story to it that uses, again, the Jedi and the Sith. And it's such a ripe ground for epic, great stories. I talked about it the other day. You could have these massive battles between Jedi and Sith. It's such an obvious thing that I've been stunned that Lucasfilm has been so hesitant to do anything with it. It seems perfect for a big, epic scale movie. So that's what I do. I mean, it's hard to get into detail because I think you'd cut me off. But the basic outline, Jedi versus Sith, Old Republic, new characters, and try to turn it into a trilogy.
Next question coming from Bebop Fett. Hey Thor, the other day I remembered that Ahsoka's voice is heard by Rey at the end of Episode 9, with the timeline shown at Celebration seemingly indicating that Dave Filoni's project will connect with the sequels. Do you think that Ahsoka will pass in Filoni's movie?
Yes, I do. I think that'll be the end of the line.
That he needed a cinematic movie to finally say goodbye to his character?
He needed an epic stage in order to remove her from Star Wars. But I think so. I just don't...
Or she'll turn into a hermit in a world between worlds where she can connect to any Jedi, and it explains why she could do that.
She is all the Jedi, and she fuses with Rey and takes over her body, and she will rebuild the Jedi Order.
You've gone too far.
If Filoni has his way. But no, seriously, I do think she's going to die in the movie. I think we've had so much of this character. We've had Clone Wars. She comes back in Rebels. We've even had her in like Tales of the Jedi. She's going to have at least one season of her own show, probably two if it's successful. I mean, for sure if it's successful, we know.
And if the writer's strike ends.
That too. But I just think that's the perfect stage. Again, not to imply that Filoni loves his character too much and would need the grandiose exit. But yeah, I think that's kind of just what else do you do with her after this? You don't want to just have her everywhere all the time. I don't know. But yeah, my guess or bet would be she dies in the Filoni movie.
From Harry C. Hey Thor, do you think it would have been better or worse for Star Wars if George Lucas released it into the public domain rather than selling it to Disney?
I don't think he ever would have done that or considered that. But hypothetically, you would have had so many studios or companies making Star Wars movies, and in this weird sort of way, you would have had the fans decide which one wins.
It'd be weird.
Yeah, but I think there would have been, if you think the fan wars are bad now, it would have been so much worse under that. So
there's branching timelines and
it would be crazy. I mean, it's interesting because you would have seen so many different kind of interpretations and it's almost like Visions on an epic scale, you know, the Visions animated show. I don't know. There would be no license. Anybody could just make anything Star Wars. I think it would dilute it and it would turn into a mess. It's an interesting thought, or in theory, but the reality of what would happen would have been chaos.
And Disney could still make Star Wars.
Yeah, they could have. Everybody could have made Star Wars at that point. But fun question, fun thought, but no, chaos ensues all around.
Next question from Joey Piper. Hey Thor, do you think a time skip between The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi would have helped the sequel trilogy?
Yes and no. Because you have to remember, I mean, now in hindsight, we look back and say that was probably a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, I think everybody wanted to know what happens next with Luke and Rey. We had the end of The Force Awakens where she's handing him the lightsaber. I think everybody wanted that conversation.
It's like they needed to finish that moment and then do a time skip to where he's training her.
I agree with that. I think that would have worked.
And a time skip to, this is the rebuilding of the Resistance.
Rebuilding the Resistance. Well, I mean, the continuation of the Resistance, it could have been a year of training. I mean, imagine that. Imagine that they had time skipped and Rey had trained with Luke for a year. Mm-hmm. If he wasn't this grumpy old bastard. Where would we be right now if they had decided to time skip and not have Luke toss his saber over his shoulder? I mean, that just fixes so many problems. It fixes the Rey, quote-unquote, Mary Sue problem, and it fixes the grumpy Jake Skywalker problem. So yeah, I think that would have been a good idea, in other words.
Absolutely. Next comment, and sorry if I get this name wrong, Pavel Datsuk. Hey Thor, I know you've read almost every Star Wars book in the EU and new canon, so as someone who is starting to get into the books, what would be your top recommendations? I have read Heir to the Empire. I read it before the Ahsoka trailer, the new Thrawn trilogy, Aftermath, and Heir to the Jedi. Thanks, and keep up the great work.
It depends on if you want to keep going EU or if you want to go with new canon. If you want to do EU, my top recommendation is always the Plagueis novel by James Luceno. Darth Bane trilogy, also fantastic. If you're looking more new canon, can't go wrong with the book Catalyst, also by James Luceno.
Catalyst is excellent.
Yeah, that's actually, if you enjoyed Andor, that book will be really good too, because it's kind of a more, I mean, James Luceno is a kind of a really detailed, kind of gets into the politics of things, really good with the characters. So if you enjoyed Andor and you enjoyed Rogue One, it's a great prequel to Rogue One, and it will, I haven't read it since watching Andor, but I can't think of anything that kind of conflicts. I wonder if it kind of, there might be some small issues there, but it's such a good book, such a good read, and really good for Rogue One, and probably really good for Andor, and kind of along that same kind of style, in a way.
I think Tarkin and Lords of the Sith are good reads as well.
Tarkin is a really good read as well. It's kind of, it might be a little dry to some, and I don't say that as a, negative, but if you're expecting like this high action Star Wars book, there's some in there, but it's...
But that's not Tarkin.
No, not exactly. He does some action stuff, but... No, but Lords of the Sith is also really good. Actually, Phasma was a really good book.
Surprising. It made her character really good until you remember what happens.
Yeah, it's actually one of the better books in the new canon. It's kind of this Mad Max vibe to it. It's really good. I mean, even if you don't like the character, it's a good book.
And Lost Stars.
Lost Stars, actually
Tale
really good
of
too.
Some common regular folk during the time of the Empire. Kind of following through the original trilogy as two regular people who end up following different paths through history.
Yeah, it's actually more of a kind of a teeny romance book, but not really.
Not
it is, but
not
not
a teeny romance book.
It's not like Twilight kind of bad. I'm assuming I haven't read Twilight, but no, there's a lot of good books in the new canon, and the EU, there's a lot of different eras to kind of jump into if you wanted. So that's kind of harder to, but I would start with Darth Bane and Plagueis if you wanted to go EU. Can't go wrong with those two.
I recommend the Clone books.
Oh, the Karen Travis novels?
Those
are pretty good.
They're
much,
cool.
much different than what we got in, say, Clone Wars, but they're good books.
Because they changed Order 66.
It's much different. Mandalorians are much different. A lot of things are different. So they're good reads, but they're going to be confusing if you've kind of gotten used to what you've seen in like The Mandalorian and Clone Wars and stuff.
Oh, and the Kenobi novel.
Kenobi novel's solid as well, yeah. It's, again, much different from what you get out of the Kenobi series, we'll say that.
Next comment from Canadian Bacon 384. Hey Thor, do you think there's still a way to implement Mara Jade in a way that makes sense? Especially given how Luke still seems to believe romantic and strong attachments are against the way of the Jedi. How would you do it? Would you change anything about her character?
Theoretically, yes. I mean, I've proposed some theories on how you could bring Mara Jade in, and it's generally met with a negative reaction because there are people who don't want her kind of used to explain Grumpy Luke, which I don't want, yet at the same time, I think the story could be interesting and good. Like, I don't want just Mara Jade used because, we got to explain why Luke was all dejected. But at the same time, I love the character so much, and I think there is still the potential for a great story in there. And Luke in the EU does he does lose his way a bit when Mara Jade dies, so I think the problem is, again, you would have the people rejecting it, but I don't think you would need to change her too much. I mean, you might make her an Inquisitor instead of the Hand of the Emperor or something like that, but that story's also kind of been done.
I think it would be amazing, and the way I've thought about bringing her in several times was, again, it does kind of help with Grumpy Luke, which is still not going to be loved, but have him fall in love, and he believes, what he believes. I mean, maybe this is before he comes to the conclusion that strong attachments are bad. He falls in love, and then something tragic happens. Something that shows him that being attached to somebody is too dangerous. This could be, of course, the reason why he believes romantic attachments are getting in the way of the Jedi. Maybe he has to make, like, the train choice. Do you save the one person you know or the 5 people on the tracks?
Yeah, that's basically the Anakin choice, too.
He makes a decision to save Mara Jade, his love, over saving other people, and the guilt of it drives her away. And then she finds out she's pregnant and Rey's his daughter, and because that's how I would tell the story.
Rey is his daughter? Oh, we're going.
That's how I would fix that, too. Rey is his daughter. But no, I think it could easily be explained to his, he's jaded and he believes against these strong attachments because he fell in love, because he had a strong attachment, and it led him to making a choice that he couldn't live with.
I like where you're going with that.
It could give a nice tragic love story, and it doesn't say that she has to die. She could just not be with him anymore because she couldn't. Because he couldn't live with himself with the choice he made.
Yeah. I think there's still something you could do with Mara Jade. Mm-hmm. I just think, unfortunately, or for better or worse, I don't want to say unfortunately because people have a right to their opinion on this, but I do think a lot of people would reject it just out of hand because they don't want her used to justify Grumpy Luke. All right, let's get to one more question. And again, if people enjoy this, maybe we'll do more of these. Maybe we'll make them longer. I don't know. We'll let fate decide.
All right, then this one is from Rensnick232. Hey Thor, I've been wondering something. Like plenty of other older Star Wars fans, I've completely given up on Disney Star Wars. There are 6 movies I'll always love, plus some EU things, but that's it. I've walked away. I do still subscribe to your channel here, because even though I don't watch too many of your videos about the current stuff, I do really enjoy your Let's Talk Some Star Wars style videos. So I wanted to ask, if it were to happen that things deteriorated to the point you found you were giving up on Disney Star Wars, what do you think you'd do with your channels?
I would focus on my own stuff, which is probably... No, it's not probably. It's something I want to do anyway.
Your Thor stories?
Well, not they makes them sound like I'm going to write about some guy named Thor, but no, I would love to create my own stories. That's kind of the end game goal, I guess. And that doesn't mean I'd ever stop talking about Star Wars or doing YouTube, but I want to do my own stuff.
Right. As for the second channel, we still have our memes.
We would just do memes every day. No, I think we would...
Well, we still talk about Marvel, and we talk about some other pop culture things now and again, and we might just start leaning more heavily into that.
I think it would become a general pop culture, kind of the things we enjoy channel, which it kind of is already, in a weird sort of way.
Yeah, because I kind of say, hey, I want to talk about this, and you're like, okay.
But no, I want to do my own stuff. I want to get back to more fan fictions, too. That's another thing I absolutely want to get to. So that's all kind of connected. All right, well, I guess that's going to be all we got for this time. So now it's your turn to take to the comments below, and you can either tell me what you think about this style of video. Did you enjoy it? You want more of it? Or don't do this, do other things. Or you can also ask a question for a potential future video like this by starting your comment off by saying, hey, Thor, and then firing away. Whatever the case may be, do leave your comments below, and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.